So welcome to the Iowa Files. I'm Gail Brubaker. I'm the Executive Director of the West Des Moines Historical Society. And obviously, this is a program that everybody has a lot of interest in. So Kent Halstad is the kind of teacher that I think we all wish we had. History is not boring when this gentleman opens his mouth. So I anticipate there being a lot of questions at the end. So if you could maybe raise your hand so I can get the microphone over to you so we get your question recorded and then Kent's answer, that would be absolutely lovely. There are 2 seats up here if anybody needs them. And if anybody has an empty seat near them, wave your arms because we still have some folks coming in. All right. No further ado, Kent Halstad.
Who is this? What group is this?
Yours.
Who is it? Who? What group is this? Who is it? Who is it?
Yours.
Seems like you would know. Who is this? What group? Roger, John, Pete. It's the Who, you bet. That's who it is. It's the Who. Who says teaching is stressful? Okay? I'm 39 and I feel great. So I don't really get that at all. I am still in the classroom. I'm not one of those people that leaves the classroom and flies around the country and things like that. I get to be a teacher. I have 5 more classes after this class. The principal's in the hallway. And please keep your hands to yourself. Okay? Okay, well, there goes another school teacher who makes $10 million a year. Meanwhile, I'm working my butt off playing professional hoops and I can barely pay rent. I just signed a new contract for $324 million for 4 years teaching with incentives and options. My options are if my kids have fun and they learn, I get paid millions of dollars. So teaching is pretty priceless. And I teach 8th grade history at Indianola Middle School. I also work part-time at Menards. And so I'm pretty spoiled that I get to do all those things. My wife is a retired art teacher. So I am still certainly in the classroom. I teach 6 classes a day, plus a WIN class, plus study hall. I did kind of retire from grading, but that's a whole nother story. Okay? What we have here is a failure to communicate. There is Guns N' Roses, and Axl Rose says, answer is nothing. What motivated them? Vietnam, 58,215 died. World War I, 116,014 people died. World War II, 440,016 GIs from the United States died. Civil War, 620,000. What motivated them? When did they just decide to start shooting? Okay? Let's see what motivated some of these people. Fort Hill, drowned to death. U.S. Army, 1869 to 1861, president, lost 11 elections. The Butcher went AWOL, disagreed with Robert E. Lee, saw 5 rebels get killed by 1 shot. So we're going to meet some of these people real quick. That is Henry Wirtz. He was the commander of Andersonville Prison Camp. He really wasn't the only person executed after the Civil War, but he was certainly one of them. Okay? Any comments who that is? Okay, very good. Jefferson Davis, president of the CSESH, the Confederacy, and there he is. Again, what motivated these people? Nicknamed the Butcher, Ulysses S. Grant. Nathan Bedford Forrest goes on to start the KKK after the war. Cyrus Boyd, young man from Indianola, Iowa, who fought in the Civil War. And you're going to see some of his words today. Rosie O'Neill Greenhow, a famous Confederate spy. Abraham Lincoln, the man, the myth, the legacy, dies 6 days after the Civil War. The Civil War ended April 9th, 1865. He was shot April 14th, and he dies April 15th after the Civil War, just to give you some time period. This guy's pretty interesting. His name's Newton Knight. He succeeded from the secession, from the secessionists, from the secession. Go ahead and say that at home. He succeeded from the secessionists, from the secession, from the secessionists. Okay? So those are some of the people involved in the Civil War, and that is Robert E. Lee. He was in the United States Army for 32 years, and then he fought for Virginia, as most of you know. Dies in 1870. This is James Longstreet, and he told Robert E. Lee on July 3rd, 1863, he said, "This isn't going to work. I've been a soldier all my life. No 15,000 man can take that hill called Little Round Top. It isn't going to work, Robert E. Lee." That's what James Longstreet said. And Robert E. Lee said, "You're going to do what I ask." And he did. And about 12,000 rebels got killed in one day. It's called Pickett's Charge, as some of you know, July 3rd, 1863 at Gettysburg. So those are some of the people. This is Clara Barton, worked as a nurse among the worst of the fighting, goes on to start the American Red Cross. Okay? So just some people that were involved in the Civil War, and all of a sudden they started doing things.
Where a rebel soldier lay.
And that is Leanne Womack. She's my favorite singer. Okay? Okay, the Yankees. Nickname, the Rebels, Billy Yanks, Johnny Reb. Here's where Iowans fought at. And there's a lot of reasons why. Okay? First of all, Missouri was an enslaved state. Missouri had slaves, as most of you know. It becomes a state in 1821, but it never seceded from the United States. It never left the United States. So Wilson's Creek's a good example of Missouri had huge battles in it. Pea Ridge was in Arkansas, right by Missouri. But it was just had a huge conflict of interest for Missouri. And the Blue Arrow is where some cannonballs landed in Iowa. It's not that exciting, but Iowa has a claim to the Civil War battle. The cannonballs were in Missouri, but they landed in Iowa. It's hard to find, but you can find it for that purpose. Okay? And the Battle of Shiloh, which we'll talk quite a bit. Iowans fought in the West. It's called the Western Theater. Does anybody know why? Why would Iowans, no Iowans at Gettysburg, no Iowans at Petersburg, at Chancellorsville? Why did Iowans fight in the South? They had to get there. Minnesota had one regiment at Gettysburg, but Iowans couldn't get there. It was just didn't work like that. The railroad just didn't go. It was just too hard to get to the east. And Iowans were needed in the South. Here's where Iowans fought at. These are their main battles they fought at. And you can see the blue arrow is Vicksburg. The red arrow is Shiloh, Atlanta. And the star is Andersonville Prison Camp. So you can see, just by demographics, you can see kind of what happened for that purpose. And there are Confederate prison camps and Union prison camps. Number 8 is Andersonville. That's what we're going to focus on today. We're also going to do a lot of interactive things today as well. You're going to get to answer questions. So if you don't talk, you will have Saturday school. Okay? And I'm serious about that. Okay? My principal comes in my room and says, "Boy, I don't want my kids to be good. I want my kids to think. I want them to create. I want them to challenge me." So please do that. And you can stop me anytime. Okay? Even if you're in the back of the room, you can stop me. We have some experts way in the back of the room. See the guy in the stocking hat? He knows everything about history. And we're going to quiz him today. We'll see how he does. Okay? Okay. So we're just going to, I don't like to go down rabbit holes, and there's tons of them about Andersonville. A lot of you probably studied it. I didn't want to do that today. I just wanted to stick to a primary source about Andersonville. So this book was written by Cyrus Boyd. He's from Palmyra, Iowa, which is 8 miles northeast of Indianola. is where it is. Okay? And there's a map, and that's where Palmyra, you can't quite see it in the red arrow, and that's Indianola. This is not the ordinary battlefield diary with brief entries, but he kept a diary during the war. Cyrus Boyd did. The enclosed copy may be of interest to you. This was in the family's possession till 1851, is when it left the family and went to the Iowa Historical Society. And I imagine this library has this book. I don't know for sure. Okay, we were mounted on horses. Our uniforms consisted of a pair of blue overalls, a white uniform, and a chip hat. The total cost of the uniform is 85 cents. So this is in Warren County. They were doing some tall yelling. And they went around the county trying to get Abraham Lincoln elected. And this was their banner that they did for that purpose. Cyrus Boyd, who wrote these words, was a bright, articulate patriot from Iowa who served the cause of the Union well and left behind a diary. He was raised in Warren County. Now his words. It's a privilege to be able to read these. Today, I took my little squad of boys who were left to the Lincoln campaign to Indianola. We made up our minds to enlist in the war times are dull at home, and many have gone to the call of the president. So the Civil War started April 9th, 1861, so this is the next fall. Okay? He's still home, and he doesn't want to miss it, because most people, as you know, thought the Civil War would last for 90 days. Those Yankees aren't going to fight. Those rebels don't care. So people enlisted for 90 days for the Civil War. Women and children watched the first battle at Manassas or Bull Run. So they just didn't want to miss it. That was a big deal to get to go. Okay? A lone and lonesome winter is coming and the war may be over. And this was their chance to make something. Buddy of Indianola came with us. He's an intimate friend of Dr. Fitz and is a jolly fat man to be with. Okay? So, what do? They have to walk to Knoxville from Indianola. That's how they enlist in the Civil War. Okay? Then they get to go to Keokuk. Keokuk has a huge Civil War history. The girls all treated me well, brought back me with some recruits. Some of these boys will stay in the service and some of them will not. All have to pass through a medical examination, but the surgeons are not as particular as the government wants these boys. Usually, basic training was about 3 weeks in the Civil War. Now he goes back home. The farm at home deserted by every boy in the family, and no one but father to look after the stock. Nearly all the boys in the neighborhood are gone. All, in fact, who have any ambition in them. The towns are almost deserted. Everyone is talking about the war. So Keokuk. Obviously on the Mississippi River, 3 Civil War hospitals in Keokuk, and this is where the man trained. He was pretty disgusted. Let's see what he says. All his work, men are playing cards, swearing, and dancing, just on other days. How uncomfortable it makes me surrounded on Sunday. Through the week, I can get along very well. Man that 4 months ago would not swear at all, now even swear on Sundays. As most of you know, it was fun to get a gun. It was fun to gamble. It was fun to get paid. It was fun to get cheered. But then you'd up at the Battle of Shiloh, and that's what happened to a lot of Iowans very quickly after about 3 weeks of basic training. And yes, they did swear in the Civil War. Darn it. And that's Roger Daltrey right there of The Who. And that's why I had him right there. He loves history. He has quite a few programs about history. Okay, March 24th. They're still in Keokuk. This has been a fine day, and we've trooped it by drill. A number of the 17th Wisconsin got drunk today, and the officers had a great time to manage them. Men selling bulletproof vests were in camp today. The boys say our captain purchased one. They submitted some for trial, and about half of them were bored through by the musket balls. They sold from $8 to $16. If the bullet didn't go through, it would knock a man into the next week, so he might be killed first as last. Okay? Then guess what? Boats took them. Yes?
The dollar amount, is that from back then? Or
Yeah, it's from 1861.
How much would that be from today's?
It'd be about $400 probably, so they were taking a huge risk. Okay, and thanks for talking in the back row. Never talk again. Okay, the boat Jenny Dean's came up, and we were to leave at 3 p.m. This is where Cyrus Boyd met his wife in Keokuk when he was training. The rain falling in torrents as we marched down Main Street, the sick boys at the hospital looked out from their bunks, but they were getting cheered. They were going to war from Keokuk. Okay? Where do they go? They go down the Mississippi to the Ohio, to Cairo, Missouri. So they're still on their boat, the Jenny Deans. Then they go to Paducah, Kentucky, where they meet with the Tennessee River. So they go up the Tennessee River, and then they up at the Battle of Shiloh. And the blue arrow is Shiloh, and that's the Tennessee River. That's how quickly these boys from Iowa ended up there. April 5th, April 6th, 1862 is where they ended up. And just a little bit bigger map for you. Okay, and that's the Tennessee River. It flows north, and you can see where it goes into the Ohio River is where it goes. And that's a better example of the Battle of Shiloh in Tennessee. Okay, now here's what happens. Don't go out there, you'll catch hell. We're all cut to pieces. We are whipped. One had been hit at the thighs, and the legs were torn from the body. The fifth and the last one was piled up on a massive skull, arms, toes, and the remains of a butternut suit. So, again, his words from his first day at battle. The air is already filled with the stench of decaying bodies. 23,000 was the death total, April 6th, April 7th, 1862. And as some of you know, Iowans were in the hornet's nest. That means the mini balls were flying so high, it sounded like a hornet's nest, and that's where that comes from. And it comes from the Iowa Regiment at Shiloh. And this is where they saw the elephant. Remember I said it was fun to get a gun, it was fun to gamble, it was fun to drink, it was fun to get a uniform. They got paid. But this is where they lost their grin and saw the elephant for the first time. So to recap, Cyrus Boyd was from Palmyra, Iowa, and he was bored. He didn't want to miss the war. So he walked to Indianola, and he got some of his friends to sign up, including Hezekiah Fisk. Then they walked to Knoxville. Then they took a train from Knoxville to Keokuk, and then they were mustered out from Keokuk, down the Mississippi, up the Ohio, and up to Tennessee, and they'd up at the Battle of Shiloh. And many of them end up at Andersonville Prison Camp. And that's why I showed you the map before. Has anybody read this book before? Okay. Okay. John Lewin, age 37, residence Indianola, born in Indiana, enlisted, died while prisoner of war at Andersonville Prison Camp. Massachusetts, his name's Philip Shiloh, buried in Andersonville National Prison sentence. So that's why so many Iowans ended up at Andersonville. Okay? There was New Yorkers, there was Pennsylvanians, but there was mostly per capita Iowans. Let's see what Andersonville looks like.
Now, what do you call this little piece of heaven? This is Andersonville. street. Andersonville. Fine looking place, don't you think? Oh, hold me, young lady. Hey, where'd you get catched in? Well, that's good. Means Grant's going forward. Bobby Lee's going back. Let me show you around. Get you a good place to stay. You want to be up by a wall, away from the swamp. Yeah, it don't stink so bad there. There ain't so many bugs. Can't believe it. You need to shave. Come on, friend. I'll show you where you can shave. Come on, please. I can see. Hold it. Hey, Bobby, leave them alone. Just stay away. I know what kind of man you are, and you just stay away from me. Let the fish go! The rest of them another time. Don't waste your time with that bunch. Come back with your parts. And you know who they are, don't you, Mick? We'll take care of you later. Those are the Raiders. Hyenas is more like it. You stay away from them. What they do is they try to steer the new boys over there, and they'll whack you over the head, and they'll kill you, and try to take your stuff from you. Very much obliged, friend. Friend. You don't know who I am? Sarge? Josiah? No, Dick. Now, I signed up with you, young man, and I fought with all of you. 7 Pods and Chickahominy and them Cheatham. Yeah. God, is that you? My God. No wonder. There's no food in here. Somebody stole my uniform when I looked back and said, God, thank you. 2 months ago, 2 years. They shot me in both my legs, but
That's where Andersonville was. And I assume you know a lot about it already, but so I'm not going to delve into it too much, but that's where it was. Railroads took Billy Yanks there. Johnny Reb held them. And it was a ways away from the north. There is a lot of evidence that Abraham Lincoln knew about Andersonville prison camp, but they also knew that they had to feed 33,000 people in there at once. So there was also evidence like that. Okay? Yes?
Why did they mention New Spain?
Why didn't they mention Spain? Is that what you said? New Spain? You mean like old Mexico? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Remember, at Andersonville, Billy Yanks were there. Johnny Reb held them. There are also prison camps in the north, as we've already learned. Okay? Yankees were held in Andersonville, Georgia by rebels. Not many pictures exist from Andersonville at all. I mean, it makes sense. It was only open for about 14 months. 12,912 people died. It was just open a few months. That is a real picture from Andersonville. They lived in holes in the ground. They were not given rations. Shade was a huge problem. People did try to escape. It really didn't go very well. 3,000 prisoners. It was about 16.5 acres. At one time, a prison exchange happened. Johnny Reb for Billy Yank. But eventually that broke down. A lot of people blame it on General Grant or General Lincoln, but the logistics of it just didn't work. How do you exchange Johnny Reb for Billy Yank and have it really work? It just didn't happen. So the prison camp continued to swell at Andersonville, Georgia. And this is a drawing by John Ransom, yeah.
I think I'm here because of the prison exchange.
Yeah, because of the prison exchange, okay?
Mothers, fathers.
Yeah, was there, okay?
And I was an Iowa.
Yeah, yeah.
They stayed there for 3 months and
got out of Andersonville? Yeah, okay. There was actually ships that Johnny Reb would go in one door, Billy Yanks would go in another door, and they would exchange like that. It was called the U.S. Exchange, was a ship like that. They would meet on the river. So, but it didn't work very well. What do you see? What did they die of? Yeah, that's a bunch of crap. You want some toilet paper with that crap? I mean, wow. Okay? They also died of this. What the heck is score? What do you think it is? Scurvy. Their teeth fell out. No vitamin C, exactly. So that's a lot of what they died of for that purpose. Okay, now remember I teach 8th grade, and sometimes I have to write some historical fiction. So this is not a real letter, I wrote this. Okay? General Grant, cry for help. They will kill you for half an apple in here. The Rebs give us nothing to eat. We live in shebangs. The water we relieve ourselves is the same water we bathe in. The water tastes funny since we are downstream from the officers' horses. It is bad in here. Over 100 Yanks die every day. They take the clothes off the dead and sell the clothes for some jerky. We try and tie a toe tag to each dead soldier so their parents will know what happened to them. The raiders robbed the fresh fish and their haversacks. Henry Wirtz is the worst and said there'll be no prison exchange. Martin Blackbird of Marion County, Iowa, walked across the deadline and the Rebs shot him. And that is the deadline right there. So and that's a real picture. The Confederates they have roosters up there, and they would shoot you if you walk across there. And some Yankee soldiers did it on purpose. Okay? I hope this letter gets to you. It cost me $2 for a rebel to send it. If they squirreled some money away, they could have a letter sent out. I traded the brass buttons off my uniform for $2. Please help us Yankee soldiers in the Federal Army. There are over 30,000 of us in here, and at one time there was 33,000. If anyone intercepts this letter, you are honor bound to get it into General Grant. John Lewin, 3rd Regiment, Iowa Volunteer Infantry. And my note, John Lewin died at Andersonville Prison Camp August 16, 1864. A toe tag identify him, and he is buried at Andersonville National Cemetery. Now, I wanted to start with a diary. I wanted to show you how the average Iowan got to the South. I thought that was important. I could have shared a lot of other things, but I wanted to show you that's a primary source. Those are Cyrus Boyd's words. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of things about that, but I didn't want to do that very much. At Andersonville today is a national cemetery. The stockade that you needed to see, those couple clips I showed you, that was on purpose because you need to see it. Otherwise, you have no idea what it kind of looked like. And that movie's from Ted Turner. He wanted the story of Andersonville told. So in 1994, he rebuilt that stockade. Then they filmed it. Then they lost all the film. Then he had to build the stockade again because he wanted the story told. Okay? So 12,912 died in 14 months. 214 Iowa soldiers died at Andersonville Prison Camp.
You don't recognize me? Well, Sarge, I walked with you in Antietam. I walked with you, Josiah, at Chicago. I walked with you in Antietam. I walked with you, Soldier 7 times. I walked with you at... Who walked with you? The
And I apologize, you couldn't see our faces, but the microphone person, Mr. Dubchuk, is in that, and that's for 8th graders, and we reenact some things sometimes. Where did the food come from, you think, in Andersonville prison camp? They did get rations from the Rebs, but the Rebs couldn't feed their own army, so they weren't going to feed the Yanks very well. They traded things like brass buttons. They tore the clothes off dead people and sold that. So it's one of the ways they got food and other things. They rang out shirts for rainwater. They went by the fire to kill lice, because lice would pop off if you had a fire at all. So those are some of the ways they tried to stay alive at Andersonville. Here's the commander of Andersonville. I think he's kind of a scapegoat. There was a lot of things involved, but there's his hanging after the Civil War. And that's a real picture of it. I like real pictures. 13,000 Union prisoners were there when he was executed December of 1865 for not feeding the Yanks in Andersonville prison camp. Now we get in interactive things. Now you get to talk. Okay? If you don't talk, you will have Saturday school with Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez. You will have breakfast club. Okay? So now we get to talk. What state is this? And you can't see the whole screen, I apologize. Yeah, very good job. That's Illinois. Okay? Illinois obviously had rebels in a prison camp. A lot of them died, just like the Yankees at Andersonville for that purpose. Okay. How did he die, you think? Diarrhea. That's not very pleasant. What was his name? Pleasant. It's not very pleasant. What kind of gun is that? It's a Quaker gun. It was fake. Reconnaissance with balloons. You flew over it and you thought, boy, those rebels have a lot of guns. But they really didn't. That's why I called it a Quaker gun. Okay? I like primary sources. I like real pictures like that. And there's a better picture of it. Balloons were used for reconnaissance, big time. It's called a Quaker gun, obviously, because Quakers were into pacifism. Okay, and we talk all about that. Okay, what do you think? Very good job. That's Woodstock. That's nothing to do with the Civil War. Okay? And 8th graders, there was a lot of babies born 9 months after Woodstock. I'll explain that to you after you're married. Okay? But yeah, that's Woodstock. We are okay. Now I want to show you, I get to be a teacher. I want to show you some stuff we did last week in my classroom and something we're doing this week. Okay? All of you went to school, and that's pretty cool. The guy in the back of the room in the stocking hat, he just came out of the forest to go to school today. But he's actually really smart, because if you can live in the forest, you're very smart, aren't you? So that's what I always tell my 8th graders. Okay? So we studied this last week in class. In the journey which you're about to undertake for the discovery and the course of the source of the Mississippi, the most convenient water communication to the Pacific Ocean, you will encounter considerable dangers from those Indian inhabitants. Should you escape those dangers and reach the Pacific Ocean, you may find it imprudent to hazard a return the same way. You may find vessels on the western coast. You can use the credit of the United States to draw on, and Thomas Jefferson, there he is right there. Okay? This is what we did last week in my class. So what does it mean, convenient water communication? What does Thomas Jefferson mean by that in 1803? Ship river to river, ship to ship. They were hoping they would find one river, find another river, and make it to the Pacific Ocean big time. What rivers did Thomas Jefferson get mixed up? He got the red one mixed up with the blue one. He thought they were going down the Mississippi, but they were really going up the Missouri. Thomas Jefferson did. Were Native Americans hostile to Lewis and Clark? Not whatsoever. They thought Lewis and Clark were just passing through. Okay? They also had that woman with them. Who was that? Yeah, so warring parties would not have a woman with them. Okay? They also had an enslaved person with him. William Clark's right there. That's his enslaved person, York. When you went to the army back then, your enslaved person went with you and did your work. That's stupid. And that's awkward, but that's the way it was. Okay? So, also, what did Lewis and Clark give Native Americans? Guns, air rifles, presents, blue beads, indigo. So, now, get a little more interesting right here. You may find it a hazard to return the same way. That's why Thomas Jefferson gave him this letter. You might find it, what's he mean by that? You might not be able to go back the same way. What was he worried about? Native Americans. What else was he worried about? Weather, certainly. They were gone over 2 years. Also dinosaurs. Oh yeah, yeah. He thought there might be, hey, Mo, you got to give him, he got to give him credit. He had no idea. Okay? Passage by the West Coast. Was there really boats going by present-day Oregon, Washington before 1805? Like James Cook, like George Vancouver. Were there any ships going out there? What do you think? Let's go to it right here. This is Meriwether Lewis's diary from November 3rd, 1805. A mountain which was supposed to be Mount Hood, it's covered by snow. On this day in his diary, he was overjoyed. Remember, Lewis and Clark were going east to west. And when they saw Mount Hood, about right here, 120 miles away, he was overjoyed because he knew they were going to make it to the ocean. He'd never seen Mount Hood before. He didn't even know really where he was. Okay? But how did the Lewis and Clark expedition know they were so close to the Pacific Ocean? A, they had a primitive map of their route. They had seen pictures of Mount Hood in the ocean. The Walla Walla Indian tribe had told them about once they saw Mount Hood, they'd be 125 miles from the ocean. Our ship captains had sailed by present-day Oregon and noted in their journals about some white-capped mountains. What do you think? How did they know, person in the stocking hat, Jason, how'd they know that Mount Hood was named Mount Hood and they were that close to the ocean? What do you think? What?
D.
Darn it! D is the right answer. George Vancouver had sailed by there in 1792, and he wrote in his journal about looking back east and seeing mountains, Mount Hood, Mount Jefferson, Mount Adams, Mount Baker, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Rainier. And they were named after people on his ship. That was in 1792. Guess who read that diary in 1800? Meriwether Lewis did. So Meriwether Lewis knew if they saw a mountain, it would probably be called Mount Hood just from his diary, and that's how they knew where they were. That's called doing research, isn't it? That's pretty cool, 8th graders. That's pretty cool that they could do that. And there's Mount Hood. How many miles is that from Portland? It's about 50 miles. Can you see it every day? No, it doesn't work like that, does it? Because it's raining most of the time. Okay? Okay. Meriwether Lewis also is told this by Thomas Jefferson. You won't have money, you won't have clothes. How come? They traded it. Very good. They didn't need He knew they wouldn't have money. There was none of this. Okay? And this is where I do think it's funny, because the Chinook, the Walla Walla, the Clatsop, the Flatheads, they never went to outdoor world. They just lived outdoors. You do got to laugh at that. That's pretty interesting. They never went to Cabela's. They just lived there. And Lewis and Clark met 48 Native American tribes on their interaction. Okay? What is this thing? Credit. That was the whole letter. If they saw a ship out there, they could use Thomas Jefferson's Visa card. Is it still going on, or did it expire? Is it still going on, the Visa card, or did it expire? It expired, didn't it? Why did it expire in 1806? Because that's when the expedition ended. But this was like a Visa card. Thomas Jefferson, I think it's one of the most interesting primary sources we can look at for that purpose. Okay, this is what we're doing this week. Ready for this? What did they bring? Kids are predicting. Did they bring meat? Did Lewis and Clark bring meat on their expedition? No. Some of you need to say yes or no. No. They didn't. Very good. They did not bring meat. The average man on the expedition ate 9 pounds of meat per day. They went to Shakey's Pizza. Here's where they went. They had average 9 pounds of meat per day if they had it. Often they ate portable soup. They also brought 140 pounds of portable. Did they bring beer, 8th graders? Oh, teachers liked it. I mean, Menards employees drink beer. I mean, did they bring beer, do you think? Yes. I mean, they were They didn't bring beer. No way. There was no beer. They could make it. It was too heavy, too bulky. Okay? Did they bring horses? They brought whiskey. No beer. Did they bring horses? What do you think? No. Sacagawea traded for horses. Did they bring moccasins? This is Lewis and Clark. This is 1804. Let's go with the gentleman in the orange sweater right there in the back row. His name's Kenton. Did they bring moccasins? No, they did not bring moccasins. There was no moccasins, because guess who wore them? So, okay, there it is. They all had different moccasins that they wore. Okay, did they bring these? Benjamin Rush, my favorite doctor, he was involved in yellow fever in Philadelphia in 1793. He signed the Declaration of Independence. Did they bring these things? What were they for? Everything is exactly right. Okay? We like to call them thundercrappers. Okay? Because they were designed to clean you out, and that's what they brought. That was designed. There was no doctor on the Lewis and Clark expedition, but Benjamin Rush told them to bring them. In fact, they brought 600 of them because it would clean out your system. Okay? Thunder crappers. Okay. Then I'll take some questions here in a little bit, but I want to finish with some Donner Party jokes. Okay? Remember, I like to have fun. Otherwise, I wouldn't teach. Okay? I would not. Okay? Donner Party, 1846, you can see. Springfield, Illinois, Independence, Missouri, they went all the way. There were 89 people on the Donner Party, but they got stuck in the mountains. Just to recap, October 31st, 1846, they rested their oxen. By Truckee, California, it snowed and snowed and snowed 5 feet that night. Then they couldn't get their wagons through. They couldn't get their minivans through. They had to wait in the mountains. But 15 people went for help. They were called Forlorn Hope. Forlorn, as you know, doesn't mean much. 2 Donners from Forlorn Hope group, they were at Casey's buying lunch. They had a coupon for buy one clown, get one free. The one Forlorn Hoper said he did not like clowns because they taste funny. Okay? The cannibalism in the Donner Party has been overrated. It was mainly on Forlorn Hope, the 15 people that went for help. It was sensationalized. Did it happen? Yes. At great numbers? No, it didn't. The Donner Party. Did you know that George Donner was let out of the jail on bail today? What was his bail? It cost him an arm and a leg. Is exactly right. Thank you. Two Donner Partiers were eating the best meal they had in ages. The one Donner Party on Forlorn Hope, the 15 people that went for help, said, "Your wife makes a good roast," commented the first Donner. "Yeah," replied the second, "I'm really going to miss her. She makes a good roast." Wow. You want me to stop or keep going? You can be honest. James Reed was banished from the Donner Party because he didn't get to be the leader. He wanted to be the leader, but there was a murder involved, and they didn't get along very well. He was banished. What was his favorite game? Swallow the Leader was his favorite game. James Reed. Louis Keseberg was the only Donner Party member who bragged of eating human flesh. He goes on to open a restaurant. Overheard at his restaurant in Truckee in the Sierra Mountains, "Donner Party of 8. Your table is ready. Donner Party of 8, your table is ready. Excuse me, we only have 7 in our party. Appetizer." Donner Family Recipe Book, title of it, "How to Serve Your Fellow Man." How come we remember the Donner Party? Because it was a tragedy. From Iowa, there was a group of people that left from Council Bluffs with 50 people in 1846. And they made it to California with 52 people. They had 2 babies on the way, and they made it. And we don't remember. It's called the Forgotten Journey. But we remember the Donner Party because what they had to do. Okay? 2 Donners were sitting by a fire eating lunch. The first says, "Gee, I hate my mother-in-law. So try the potatoes." I do want you to laugh. I did not come here to be boring. When did all the Donners get to leave the table? Let's see if we can get this one. When did all the Donners get to leave the table? When Donner was over, okay? (1846). Isabella Donner was 1 when she made it to California in 1847. She was the last surviving member, and she died in 1935. And she still had the little doll that she carried into the mountains. Did more women or men die in the Donner Party? What do you predict? More women or men? Men. How come?
Women have more fat.
You bet. Women were in a better position in the first place when they got stuck in the mountains. Also, women have a maternal instinct. The men gave up easier. They died quicker because they didn't necessarily have kids. There was lots more single men. There wasn't any single women. And men tasted better. Okay. What did Jacob Donner get when he was late for dinner? Got the cold shoulder. He was late for dinner. He got the cold shoulder. You can't. Chocolate-covered ounce. And I always end with this song when I present places. So let's recap. First of all, I showed you my resume. I'm 39, and teaching's not stressful. Okay? Then we went into Cyrus Boyd's story, his real words. I could have done a lot of things, but I wanted to show you how he ended up there. I think that's pretty powerful. Then we showed you a few maps of the Civil War. We labeled Johnny Reb, Billy Yanks. Then we went to Andersonville, and there's so many things that I don't know if true in Andersonville, so I wanted to be careful what I showed you. I kind of stuck to what I knew about it and why so many Iowans were there. Okay? Then we went to some Civil War primary sources where kids in my class get to yell out answers. They do. They don't have to raise their hand. They just get to yell out the answer. It's pretty fun. Okay? And then we went to Lewis and Clark, what we did last week. We read that letter in class. They had to transcribe that letter. Let me go back to it. So this is the first thing. They come in the door, and they each have their own notepad. I steal them from the office. And they have to transcribe this letter, and they just do it without even thinking about it. That's what's so cool about it. Without even thinking about it, they write and they transcribe that right there. And they love it. They love that cursive. They need that in their brain. So that's what they got to do. And then I asked them those questions about it. Okay? And then this week we're predicting what Lewis and Clark bought on their expedition. Did they bring beer? Did they bring tents? No. They made cloth to make tents. Did they bring bullets? No, they brought lead. Not in their pencils either. They brought lead to melt into bullets. Okay? And yeah. So, okay? And we nailed the Woodstock. So I'm going to put the Andersonville picture up, and we'll take some questions.
How did the prison camp get liberated? Was there a battle?
Okay, it really wasn't a battle. The prisoners did get out, and they were basically sent to other prison camps. So the gates were open and they were liberated, but they were sent to other prison camps. Is how they were. That's what happened to most of them. Okay. Remember, it was open 14 months, and 12,912 people died. Hundreds of people would die a day, from infection, certainly, from lack of food, from being in the sun all day. You know, they just didn't have shade. They barely had food or water. No. They actually did tie toe tags to the dead people. And so at Andersonville today is a national cemetery. And it's 12,906 graves by itself and 6 graves separately. And those 6 graves were the raiders that you saw trying to rob people. Because remember, the new recruits came in and they had backpacks. They had onions. They had salt pork. And they would get robbed very quickly. And that's what that gang was trying to do. They were called the Yankees, but they were from New York. And they were called the Raiders in the prison camp. And they kind of kept control of the prison camp. The Rebs didn't have to worry about stuff as long as the Raiders were running it. New Yorkers were known for joining the Civil War, getting a bounty, and then dropping out and joining under another name. So it was hard to have records back then.
So the cemetery
is there today. Yeah. Remember, there's no stockade or anything like that. They didn't buy treated wood. They just had regular wood. We tried to get them to buy treated wood at Menards, but they didn't, and it disintegrated, is what happened.
So it was like federal land or public land?
It is today, yeah. No, but it is a national cemetery today in Georgia. Yeah.
And then you commented, we were there about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I've never been there, so please tell me about it.
Well, it's like we're looking at.
Yeah.
And I found out it's now the national commemorative for all veterans that have been prisoners of war. And that was surprising.
Yeah, it's a whole prisoner of war.
Sure.
Yeah. Was it pretty remarkable to see all those graves?
It was, to visit the state's graves and to see Andersonville, and imagine 34,000 people,
Yeah.
and the stream is still there.
Yeah, it's called Andersonville Creek.
It's,
Yeah. Did you see the Iowa monument when you were there?
we did, we went by that.
Yeah.
And other states too, that, yeah, it's an incredible visit.
Yeah.
Anything like Hickory, Arlington, or-
I don't know. Is there wreaths put out in the cemeteries at all or not?
I don't know, there's a lot
Okay.
of, obviously because of us celebrating all of our veterans that have been in prison.
Yeah.
There's a John McCain old
Oh,
display.
okay. And did you go there on purpose to go to Andersonville?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good job.
Well, we were coming back, we were scheduled to go to Jimmy Carter's Sunday school class,
Oh,
which was canceled, he got sick, so we
Yeah.
said, let's go to Andersonville
yeah,
on the way back.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Yes.
Then there was several years ago, a great grandfather that's buried there. And you can go and you can find the name on the list, get the number, and I located his grave, I got a picture of his grave there that
Yeah.
died in June of 1864.
actual names or-
Yeah, yeah. Names on each tombstone. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone escape?
Well, that's the rabbit hole theory. I mean, in the movie that you could see what Ted Turner has, yes, Martin Blackburn escaped. He was from Pennsylvania. He was a coal miner, and he dug his way out. And he supposedly got a letter to General Grant about what was going on in Andersonville, but I don't know for sure.
Was there any great escape?
No, there was not a great escape. Eventually, the prisoners there were let go, but most of them were put on trains to bring to other prisons, is what happened. That's a good question. Okay? She asked if the conditions were better at other prisons. The one at Rock Island, maybe a little bit, but generally they weren't very good, but Andersonville is known as being the worst of the worst, but I don't know that, but all of them are bad.
On
Yeah.
both sides.
On both sides, yeah. Yeah, more on the rebel side than that.
No one's
So-
patrolling the outer limits there.
Well, you have here's the little roost things, that's the deadline. If they tried to escape, they would shoot them. And supposedly they got a half an apple if they shot a Yankee. Is kind of that's why I worked that into the letter, that story. So, yeah.
When did the Civil War, what date did the Civil War actually end?
It ended-
I thought it was in 1865.
It ended April 9th, 1865. And Abraham Lincoln was shot April 14th, 1865.
So I have that Andersonville closed in April of 1865 because the war was over. So why would they go to another?
There wasn't always 33,000 people there. Sometimes there was only 8,000, 10,000. So some people were let go before the war ended and they were put in other prisons. It's a good question. That's what happened. Okay, does that make sense?
My great-grandfather. was
Yeah,
in Andersonville.
yeah. It wasn't like there was 33,000 people in there the whole time. It just depended on what month it was for that purpose.
Enlisted, he lied about his age, and he
Yeah.
enlisted in September of 1863.
Yeah. And where was he from?
Iowa.
From Iowa, okay.
From Iowa.
Yeah.
But then it said his mustered out date was the 23rd of June in 1865. So that was, he didn't actually get out of the service
Yeah.
until after the.
Yeah, I remember when Robert E. Lee's army surrendered, the Army of Northern Virginia, April 9th. It wasn't, people didn't even know it, It wasn't like the word spread like that at Appomattox. So it was different times, certainly.
So do you happen to know what battalion that he might have been in?
Well,
In order to end up in Anderson?
certainly either Shiloh, Vicksburg, Chickamauga, somewhere in the Southwest.
Shiloh was before, it was in 1860.
Yeah, Shiloh was April 6th and 7th, 1862. So that would have been before that.
That was before. he
So
was-
maybe Chickamauga,
Yeah.
okay, which is on the border between Tennessee and Georgia. It's right in the corner.
Okay.
So,
My grandfather was captured Chickamauga, my great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And went to Richmond, Virginia first, and then to Danville, Virginia, and then to Andersonville.
All the way to Andersonville, huh? Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how, it was, the rebels had to feed them too, supposedly. So it was quite a burden on the rebels to have that many people there. There is some evidence that the Yankees knew about it, but I wasn't able to confirm it, so.
I got some documents that show all the information.
Yeah.
Some of the Yankee prisons were all that great.
No, they weren't. No, exactly, yeah. Yeah. Especially in Rock Island, and that's why there's a cemetery there, Rock Island, Illinois, for that purpose.
How were the bodies disposed of the prisoners who died? Just mass grave? Or?
They would carry them out to the dead house. They had a dead house, and they would carry them out. And they would eventually try to label them. If they died around you, you would try to put a toe tag on them so you could identify them. And I don't know how well they did. It seems like they did pretty well for that purpose.
We read about a doctor and a nurse that kept track of it in a book, and that's how they were able to label and find things so well.
Yeah, and Clara Barton gets some credit for it, but she didn't start it. There was certainly other people doing it before she did it as well. So, it's an amazing story. We need stories, and history impacts us today, but how does I just can't have kids memorize things. Okay? Why do we drive Jeeps today? Because in the American Revolution, we were the country bumpkins, we were the outback, we had lice. That's why we like Jeeps today, because of the American Revolution. It's part of our identity. And so that's how history affects today. What do we complain about? The guy back there in the stocking hat, he works at TurboTax. What do we complain about? Did we complain about taxes in the American Revolution? Yeah, we did. And he works for TurboTax right now. So, wow, let's tar and feather him. All right, thank you very much. And thanks for letting me have fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in my hometown, there is somebody who allegedly was in Andersonville, but he was smuggled out with the dead and was able to escape that way. So I thought that was an amazing story.
Yeah, and thanks for letting me share what I get to do in the classroom too. I didn't want you to come in and just do Andersonville. That would have been fine, but I wanted to share you some of the things that we did in the classroom.
All right, a couple of notices before y'all leave, talking about history's impact today. Next Sunday, the 18th, from 1 to 3, to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s love and fierce protection of education and access, the Jordan House will be open for free tours from 1 to 3. So we will have a giveaway of some pens and books. So if you would like to come see the house and have never been able to, please come see it on our dime. We would love to have you. Also, if you do that, I want your dime. This is the last week to order your personalized engraved paver for the Pathway to History at the Jordan House. So there's information about it. You can order them online. I've got forms back there. The Best Book Group Ever has 2. So it's a great way to celebrate your own personal history. If there's a message that you would like to have engraved for the ages, that would be fantastic. And it's also a way to memorialize a special event or somebody you love. So, and then next month, in honor of Black History Month, former Senator Akeo Abdul Samad will be coming and speaking about his life from being part of the Black Panthers in the 60s to being an integral part of the push for equality in Des Moines and Iowa. So I hope you can join us then. Thank you so much for joining us today.